Hello everyone and welcome back to today's retro Android smartphone review. Today we are taking a look at the HTC Legend, which is a phone that I didn't actually really know much about until I started researching HTC devices. Came out after the HTC Desire, which we reviewed last time, and essentially it's the successor to the HTC Hero. The HTC Hero I do remember, but this I don't really remember. I think what I must have done is jumped forward to the HTC Desire S, I think. I think I ignored this. But today, we're going to take a look at this phone and see what's special about it, if anything. So as always, we're going to break this down into a few different areas. We're going to take a look at the phone's specs. We're going to take a look at the actual Android version that it's using and also the version of Sense UI, as this is an old HTC device. We'll have a look if there are any special features. We'll then take a look at the photo and video quality. We're still of an age where this device does not have a selfie camera, so that's always going to be fun trying to actually take a video with that. But there we go. And the final question that we normally ask is, can you log into Google? Can you access the Play Store? And therefore, can you download apps? Can it still run Twitter and can it still run TikTok? Unfortunately, what I have discovered is that the end of last year, Google completely discontinued any device running Android Gingerbread, so 2.3 or older, from being able to access Google services. So these devices do not have any ability to connect to Google services anymore. So we know the answer to that now, and we will, for probably the next couple of devices that we're running, find that, yeah, the usability is pretty low. But we'll take a look and see if it's still at all usable as a device in 2022. So, what are the specs of this phone? Well, interestingly enough, it actually has a worse processor than the HTC Desire, which came before it. So, I believe this was marketed more as a mid-range device. It has a Qualcomm 600 megahertz processor instead of the gigahertz processor that was in the HTC Desire. It also has 384 megabytes of RAM. So, it really is a more mid-range device for even then. It has 512 megabytes of ROM, which basically did mean that you do have to have an SD card. There's no internal storage that is really usable for any apps outside of the system applications and the actual operating system itself. It does therefore have an SD card slot, and it does have a phone jack, of course. It also uses the micro USB on the bottom, and it has still got the little optical sensor thing that we find on the old HTC devices, just like the HTC Desire had. We've got some actual physical buttons here as well. They're not sort of sensor buttons, they are actual buttons, which is interesting. And that's really it. That is the spec. It's not an particularly interesting phone. It was very much a mid-range phone for its time. But what version of Android are we running? So let's pop into the settings and take a look. The other thing I have noticed is that the touchscreen is incredibly unresponsive. I don't know if that's this particular unit. As you can see, it's really not wanting to. Come on. Don't know if it's this particular unit. I'm assuming it is. I'm assuming this one's just kind of not doing so well anymore. But we can use the optical trackpad, so you know there is actually a use for it. Let's take a look at the software information, and here we can see that we are running Android 2.2 and we have the old Linux kernel of 2.6 as well. Interestingly enough, it doesn't actually display the Sense UI version here, so it leads me to wonder if it's running an older version of Sense UI that didn't actually specify that, and this is kind of the older version of it. I don't know, but that is quite interesting. But it is Sense UI, as you can see. It's all the usual fancy widgets and bits and pieces that you get with Sense UI. See, the touchscreen kind of works. I don't know. I don't know if it is actually just really unresponsive, which is possible, to be honest. So that's his. This is that's the spec. Next up, let's try and actually take a selfie with this and record a selfie video. But like I mentioned, there is no selfie camera, so we're going to have to try and guess, and we'll see how these come out. But let's give it a go. So we're going to pop into the camera app and we'll see what we can take in terms of a picture. Now, one of the kind of nice features is the fact that you can actually use the trackball to take the photo. So you have a physical button to use for taking photos. That's kind of nice. Let's see if we can take a selfie. Oh, that took a long time to actually take and has presented a very nice blurry image. Let's try that one more time. And now we know that we've really got to wait quite a while before that photo takes. And of course, it's completely out of focus. Again, this is the thing with these old phones. It doesn't have image stabilization and the autofocus is terrible. So when you're trying to take a photo of yourself and you can't see the screen, it's nigh on impossible. So I guess, you had to get a lot more friends to try and help you with that. But let's try and take a little bit of video as well and see if that's any better at kind of image stabilization or anything like that. So we're going to... Okay, I assume it started. It has a nice beep at least. And yeah, let's see how that looks. Is that any good? I doubt it very much. So as we kind of saw in the HTC Desire, you can't download apps. That isn't going to work anymore. You do have some pre-installed apps which probably do still actually function. So we've got the camcorder and the video and the camera that we looked at before. They are actually separate applications at the moment. There's a desk clock feature which would be useful and an FM radio. But and does it make phone calls? Well, yes, it still does work for making phone calls. So there is that. If you've got a real need to have just a device that can send text messages and make phone calls, you can do that. But you're not going to be able to log into Google services. The maps does actually work still. It does still function because you don't have to log in for that. I'm not going to open it and show you my location, but it does work. It's which is quite interesting actually. But other than that, there isn't much else here that you can use. I mean, I'm pretty sure even the internet, yeah, so even accessing the internet is a little bit problematic. Now, again, I think this is because for part the touchscreen isn't working so well, so I can't actually enter anything. But let's try and go to Wikipedia and see what happens. And as you can see, because the device is so old, the SSL certificates just don't work. It doesn't recognize them as valid, which means you can't actually make a secure connection to any website. And that's basically what every website now requires. So you can't use the internet. Yeah, you can't do a lot. If you want a really bad quality video or camera, sure, you could do that. Or a very basic GPS. But other than that, once again, that's it. So unfortunately, once again, we have another old HTC device that really isn't of much use in 2022. Hopefully, as we get a little bit newer, as we start to get into slightly newer devices, they will actually be still quite useful. And there's some quirky devices that come up very soon. So we're going to take a look at those. But that's it for the HTC Legend. It was a mid-range, no frills, basic smartphone for its time, which meant that now it's pretty much a good paperweight. It is made from solid aluminium, so actually it's a little bit weighty. You could actually use it as a decent paperweight. So there's that. But other than that, that is it. So with that being said, that's everything for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do make sure that you click that like button and subscribe. We're doing loads of different retro Android device reviews and lots of other Android tech related videos. We're going to take a deep dive into old Android versions, and we've got lots of other sort of exciting videos coming up. So please do make sure that you're subscribed. Thank you very much.